welcome to Awaken Your Human Design. My name is Moni. This is Danny. And today we have an exciting show for you. We are going to be doing a series exploring the mandala wheel and how patterns form around the mandala wheel because we know what it's like to look at the wheel. You see the numbers, you see the shapes. It all seems like a big, crazy mess, but I swear there's an order to it. So we're going to start this series by looking at the centers and how the gates of each center pattern around the wheel and how they cluster and interact. And we're going to have a really fun time of it.
Yeah, I stared at that wheel so many times. I've told people over and over again, it's a great thing to do. Take a contemplative 30 minutes or an hour and just like look around the wheel and stay there for a while. It tells us how we grow.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like I kind of feel it's like if you're like a right-minded person, you can just kind of stare at it and see what comes out. And then if you're like a left-minded person, like print out an empty one, draw in it, circle it, look how the
Right.
shapes and the patterns interact, and you can learn a whole lot, and it's a lot of fun.
Good call, Moni.
If you'd like to book a human design reading with either Danny or myself, check out the QR code above, or I have the link down in the description box below. You can use code AWAKEN to save 10%. So if you want to hang out with us, you want to learn about yourself or your loved ones, book a reading and we'll have a lot of fun with you. And
Hmm.
I, thank you for liking and subscribing. We really appreciate that. That really helps us out. Thank you for commenting and asking questions. I read all the comments. I send Danny a whole lot of them. We love commenting and responding to them. So if you have any questions or thoughts, we love hearing it. And thanks for hanging out with us. And let's get into it.
Yeah, let's do it.
So, starting off with the Rave Mandala. So, last week we did a whole big episode going into a lot of detail of the different systems of the mandala. So, check that out afterwards and I'll link it up in the description and everything. But as like a little bit of an intro, the Rave Mandala, this is part of the mystical synthesis given to Ra Uruhu by the voice when he received the human design download. And this formula is comprised of four older systems. Astrology frames the body graph's calculation. The I Ching integrates our genetics into the body graph through the gates. The Hindu chakra system correlates the energy hubs of the centers. And then the Kabbalah tree of life corresponds to the circuitry and channels, creating life force definition within our design.
It's just such a beautiful synthesis of these systems. And the tree of life that gets probably the least amount of mention is one of the most important aspects of it. I mean, they're all wicked important. You can't do without any of them. But just this notion that between the centers that the chakra systems show us comes this incredible synthesis of life forces. We call them channels. I often refer to them just as the life force. This is a steady life force, I'll say to somebody you have in your body. And the wheel unfolds them. The wheel unpacks them. If you look at all the whole body graph, put it as a little ball, and then go around the wheel for a while, and be one of those cool like Chinese things. It just unfolds in like 82 different bends, but somehow or other, it opens right up into a beautiful lotus flower. Um, and that's what going around the wheel is.
Yeah, and if you think of it even as like the circuitry, we refer to it as circuitry, and think of it like an electronic circuit. Like think of it if you open like a computer or some kind of electronic device, there's little bits of this energy, this electricity that's going through it, that's powered through. And as the chart is lit up in different ways, this electricity is shooting through to then eventually make its way out into the world, into the physical world.
That's a great way of looking at it. It's circuitry. And if you just look at the body graph, it's apparent that it looks like a circuit board on its face. And then it's just as easy to, extrapolate. Of course, there's going to be circuitry within the circuit board. And all of this stuff leads into the channels. And that tree of life is really an integral part of all of this.
hmm Ready to mosey and start diving into our breakdown of the body graph?
Yeah, let's do it.
So, starting off with the mandala, this wheel that you will see around your body graph. So, the mandala is split into four quarters, right? They're split up right here between gates 13, 2, 7, and 1. So, starting off with quarter one, this is the quarter of initiation. This is mental inspiration. And so, this occurs between mid-winter into mid-spring. So, we actually just hit the beginning of quarter one.
Yeah.
So you can
Did it
even
start
think it,
already? Did it
I think it's
start
starting
already?
maybe in a week or so. We're right
Okay.
about there.
We're right at it. We're at it. Yeah.
We're getting real close. We just hit the human design new year. That's what I had in mind. And we're about to go into quarter one, this quarter of initiation, this mental inspiration. So you can even think of this of like when you're starting to plan your garden, What do you want to plan? Where do you want to plan it? Maybe you're doing little diagrams and getting your seeds all ready, right? You're thinking about it, you're dreaming what could be.
Exactly. And so this quarter of initiation, and it's also called the quarter of mind. And the reason that is because we in humanity, we're mental creatures. That's what allows us to speak. We house all of this great warehouse of wisdom, and it's useless if we don't get it out. And this quarter of mind is bubbling and percolating, not just mind overall, but all the aspects that are going to do after mind when we move into the next quarter. And it's just so obvious the movement. This quarter is about initiating stuff. And as you'll see when the things start to unfold, this is where, just like in the nine-centered being, when it came onto the scene in 1781, and our emotional solar plex woke up truly for the first time, now became available and differentiated in the body graph. This is the same way, and we start out quite emotionally. It is emotional mind.
Perfect. Ready to mosey into the next quarter?
Hmm.
So then we have quarter two, which is the quarter of civilization, and this is about material form. So this is happening between mid-spring through mid-summer. So you can think material form. This is when you're planting your seeds. This is when you're tending the garden. This is when you're watering. This is when you're pulling weeds, right? It's material. It's earthy, right? You're working with your hands in the dirt. And so it's about, we already got that inspiration going, and now we're bringing that inspiration into form.
Yes, and this quarter is very much oomphed. It's, excuse me, the previous quarter of initiation is very much oomphed into the process of civilization. We'll get into why that is. Oomph is a good word. I like it for sacral. And civilization, the hands are in the dirt, and the instruments that will create the civilization are born. They've been born through mind, but they're coming into play and coming into sharp focus. If I had to guess, this is a very, left-facing view in here. It's like just a thing I color it all with because they're getting stuff done, and we do build, and we'll see very shortly why we're building. There's a huge reason. Even if in civilization, the civilization might not know fully why it's building, but when we get to the following quarter, we'll see why it is. This is a place of extreme manifestation and very low on motorized energy, a little bit, but it's just the recipient of the manifested energy.
And then we'll move into quarter three. And so this is midsummer through mid-fall. And quarter three is the quarter of duality. This is about relational bonding. This is when you're getting together with people. This is when you're interacting and ultimately into like coupling season as you get closer, into like later fall, then you're starting to like bundle up and make, partner off.
Yeah, and this bonding is like incredibly important. When you see how the quarter is, when we see how the quarter gets laid out, all the gates of one thing are here, and we'll get to that when we get there. I don't want to ruin any surprises. It's actually very interesting what's here. And it says this is where our health is. This whole thing, it builds up through the vessel in gate 46. From seven, our role, and that's funny, our role in interaction you would think should be at the beginning of civilization, but it's not. It's here. Gate 7. The army amasses, and the army doesn't amass to wage war. It amasses to make sure it's safe and bond. This quarter of duality is also called the quarter of bonding. So here we bond, and this is where so much of our intelligence is. The intelligence is on this side in initiation, in my humble opinion. And wouldn't you know, um, well, actually, no, that wouldn't be true. I was going to say the other two are more yang, but I don't think that's true.
See, and
Nope.
now I was thinking that you were referencing that the majority of the solar plexus gates and all of the splenic gates, it's all very 1 and 3/4. So I thought that's what you
Right.
meant by
Well,
awareness.
that's what drew me to it, but I was thinking yin and yang. I was putting it in but then as I thought quickly, it's not right because civilization, whatever, the mutation is the yangest of all, of course. So
Any
yeah,
oth-
we bond here, and that's it. We move on from there. Yeah.
and then, let me find my cursor. Then we finally move into quarter four, which is the quarter of mutation. This is from mid fall through mid winter. So, the quarter of mutation, this is about transformation, right? This is winter. You're bundling up, you're cocooning and getting ready to transform into something new. And then at the very end of quarter four, if you see up here, I have a little go sign by gate 41, is that's our start codon. And it's almost like a slingshot that's pulling us back to then boop, shoot us into quarter one, into the new human design year, into the next step of, initiation.
Exactly, and I love the start time. If you look at it, it's like start, and then if this were a race, it would be start, and then by the time you get through 19 and 13, all of the participants are now in full view of the crowd. The Monte Carlo, you know what I mean? They start, and then everyone's on the roadside, and that's about where you see them. You know what's interesting? Because the whole winter aspect of it. Well, two things. A, that's for us in the northern hemisphere. It's exactly the opposite for the other half of the world. It's worth mentioning. But the other thing too is the fact that fires burn the hottest here. Staying warm, getting all that stuff together, all that sacral juice, all of this moving root juice that when we get to it, you'll see, oh my God, this is here to burst us into something. This mutation is about rebirth as much as it is about death in a way. It is about going in order to burn hot and come flying back out. And Moni always has the best analogy of like the slingshot. You pull back farther and farther to get more juice to move and pounce into initiation, essentially. So,
Yeah, I love that you mentioned the opposite land of being on the southern hemisphere, because I've often wondered that. Like, I unfortunately don't have enough friends from Australia to be asking about this, but I've
right.
always been curious of, like, I don't know, maybe if I got the hemisphere homies to like respond about this. But do you guys relate to the human design new year as it is within like northern hemisphere, or like has anyone actually like done an experiment of switching around? So like gate 13 is for when they're, winter before spring. Like I wonder if we like mirrored
Right.
the body
Yeah.
graph. Like would that make sense to somebody in the southern hemisphere? I don't know. You guys let me know. I'd love to hear about it. But yeah, it's some really fascinating stuff, and I love
I
the
just
idea.
go ahead, finish.
I was just going to continue on with the quarter mutation, but if you have some like southern hemisphere business, say that.
Well, I suspect it doesn't change. I suspect it doesn't. But I don't know. That's now that you mention it, I guess I can't swear on a stack of Bibles either way on that one, but I suspect it doesn't.
Yeah, I would suspect also, but I would love somebody who was a big enough nerd to experiment with like mirroring the body graph and what they played with. But, big order. But overall, the quarter, four quarter of mutation, this transformation idea, I like this idea of like bundling up into your cocoon and becoming something new to then burst forth and emerge into the new year.
Hmm. I'm quite sure it doesn't, Moni. I'm upgrading my suspect to quite sure it doesn't. Anyway,
I don't know. I got some South American or Australian or anyone wants to, put in your 2 cents. We'd love to hear it. But we're
yeah,
gonna mosey on.
Mosen.
So we're going to start off with the identity center. And the identity center is really neat because when you split these gates up around the body graph, it's their 8 gates are split exactly into like 8 perfect pie slices, like spokes of a wheel perfectly split apart. And so the identity center is about love and direction. So it's interesting now if we separate them and we go first into the vessel of love gates of the identity center. All the vessel of love gates hit exactly on the solstices and equinoxes. So the vessel of love in the spring equinox is when we hit gate 25 over here in quarter one on the left. Then the summer solstice is when we hit gate 15. Right? This is in what, June? Yeah, mid June. We hit the summer solstice quarter two when we hit gate 15. Then we shift over here into the autumnal equinox. That's when we hit gate 46. And then we move finally up into the winter solstice with gate 10. So the vessel of love gates are exactly on the solstices and equinoxes.
Yeah, and they really mark these moments that put it into quarters, but not the quarters of the wheel. The real quarters of the wheel, when we get to the next aspect of the identity center, is about how the love is about the direction that the love is pushed. This is the center of love and direction. It's really incredible. And since love and direction makes our identity, and the wheel is closely emulated to be synchronous with our identity, It says humanity's identity is wrapped up deeply in the direction that our love goes. People should like take that more seriously. That should be part of each news segment. What direction is humanity's love going today? This is the real story right here. Mm.
And then we'll shift over to the Sphinx gates of the Identity Center, which are exactly in between the solstices and the equinoxes. And it's when we hit the Sphinx gates that we begin each quarter. So up here with quarter one, we begin quarter one when the sun is in gate 13. Then we hit quarter two when the gate is in gate two. So that works out lovely. Then we
Mhm.
shift over in quarter three with gate seven. And then finally, quarter four with gate one.
Yeah, and so this is the direction in terms of how humanity would have experienced it before we got in our boxes and four walls that way don't know our neighbors and made giant cities and stuff. I get it. It's what we do. I get it. But when we weren't that, each of these Sphinx gates represented an interregnum to make sure communion kept taking place. And especially in the nine-centered being, that communion was a way in which the direction was pushed. The direction of humanity cannot push in isolation. So we've sort of lost that. And by now, we really don't even celebrate the equinoxes and the solstices like a lot. Winter solstice, clearly, Christmas is around then. Spring, we like the first day of spring, but most people miss it. I mean, it's like, it was this week, was it next week? Oh, it's getting warmer.
It's my
But once a
birthday. It's the best day.
yeah, right. It is. It's Moni's birthday. Right. Exactly. Yeah. My birthday's in the dead of winter, December 21st, Well, actually, that's the beginning of winter technically, but it's in the cold. But regardless, these Sphinx gates then they represent the interregnum in the celebrations of the 21st and the coming of the kings and all so many different things that show up there. All religions seem to collide there. That's great. And then there's an interregnum of gate 13, a
Which
special time. Go ahead.
I was going to say, gate 13 is actually hilariously enough when we hit Groundhog's Day, which is when we check in. Is it time to start planting or is it still going to be cold? So there are still some holidays on the quarter beginnings with the Sphinxes. And like Halloween is at 44 right before we go into gate one. So there are a couple.
Yeah, these things correlate, and it's no accident that they correlate, for God's sakes. We are quite helpless. Rob would say helpless and incompetent. It's like it's not our fault. It's like, dude, folks, please. He would say, please. You're talking about choice. Is that what you're trying to tell me? Some of these things we have sort of no choice. We will just go that way, unless someone is purposely trying to not. Regardless, this is one of the ways. This is the way by which we remember, and that drives a direction towards love and beauty. It drives a direction towards more people getting together in more harmonious ways. That's literally what it's asking to do. It's asking mind to take the emotional body along with the emotional mind and finally get this aspect right. Because we got to do a lot of building, because we got to do a lot of bonding, because we got to do a lot of like chilling out and burning hot in order to start all over again.
Absolutely. So now, if we actually bring these two together with the Sphinx gates and the Vessel of Love gates and these identity center gates, these eight that are split evenly around the wheel, you can see that we have this rhythmic realignment with love and direction. We alternate between love and direction, love and direction, love and direction. We're regularly brought in like this, and it reminds me of a heartbeat, right? The love is the glue that holds us together. Love will bring us together, right? How many songs are exactly that? The love will keep us strong. So
Like
the
all of
love,
them.
yeah, exactly, right? So love brings us together, and then the Sphinx direction, it's like it brings us out. We go out into the direction, and it's a heartbeat. So the heartbeat's in with love and out with direction, in with love, out with direction. And I think that's
Yes.
pretty neat around the wheel.
Yes. So the contraction is the love, pumping it out, and then the relaxation is the direction. That's just amazing. Anyways, it is like a heartbeat, Moni. I
Right?
find it that way too. And think about it. For millennia, thousands of times, and then tens of thousands of times, and then finally a couple of 100,000 times we have spun around this wheel. This sewed up a web. This is humanity's web sewer right here. This is our gene maker. This is the spot where you run around this wheel enough times and you don't need to find a missing link. We simply evolve. When we turn nine center, there's no difference in that than how we've already copied ourselves in computer programming. It's an update. The computer didn't evolve. We don't look for a missing link because we went from 2.0 to 3.0, right?
It's
It's an
natural
update.
evolution, where it's just like a clockwork that's moving
It's
and
like a
moving, and,
clock, a
and we're
click.
gonna evolve with it.
Yeah, and it's a click, not a smooth motion. So some stuff is smooth in evolution, and that's why everyone's always into the evolution and where's the missing link. And some stuff is abrupt because we have this heartbeat. It's just so good. And civilization obviously takes us there to when we get to that point. But the majesty of this going around the wheel. And by the way, just for the eye that can't always focus easily, um, the other two yellow gates, three of them, I mean, they might take your eye off. Just look towards the black circles where the pretty symbols are pointing at, the start and the heart. Um, every time I look at this, those three extra ones always throw my eye off. They make it incongruent for a second.
Fascinating. So that's our identity center exploration. So moving on to the throat center. So all what's interesting about the throat center is all the gates of the throat center are in quarter two, the quarter of civilization. This is about bringing ideas into form. This is materialization, right? This is middle of spring through middle of summer. This is when you are planting and digging and watering and weeding and taking care of your garden. You're tending it, you're in the earth, and things are being brought out into form.
Yeah, and at some point in time, it's so busy that you're actually making a first harvest in order to get a little bit in to make for even a bigger one later, depending on the crop and what you're doing. So that's the food part of it. And by the way, never divorce your awareness of humanity from its capacity to grow food. Food and humanity, they go together. There's no separation between the two. We need them both. And a lot of this is in furtherance of making that and shelter become stable. Just so the shelter part, this is humanity's greatest triumph. Well, greatest, whatever. It is a great triumph of humanity. I know you like that self-correcting, folks. Don't worry, it's always good that way. It is a great accomplishment of humanity, the way we have built civilization and how we have had to tame so many things in order to
Mhm.
get there. It's incredible, right? I mean, what we had to do to make it so that water could flow, 50 miles from one place to a next. What we had to do then to put various rule of law in place and finally ultimately expand and grow and make rights and just all the stuff. And we need it. We're not just a tribe anywhere anymore. Civilization is here to make sure that before we go into bonding, we're accounting for the ever expanding uh, entrance of human beings. For the longest, since we turned nine centered in 1781, we have done nothing but explode in population. We were already moving up in population, don't get me wrong. The movement was clearly there. But as soon as we turned nine centered in this quarter of bonding, finally met something being echoed from the quarter of initiation across the wheel. Um, those two things put us on a trajectory where the civilization had to come in between. We had to build it. And wouldn't you know, all of this building is about manifestation. So when we talk about the builder or the express builder, when we talk about building things generally, this is where we get our greatest idea of exactly what does it mean that all roads lead to Rome. Rob would always say that. All the streams of awareness and the circuitry all seem to dead end, even the ego in one spot, dead end into right into the throat, even integration, right into the throat. And the throat is here to build stuff, grow stuff, and bring people together. By the way, when you're growing stuff and you're building stuff, you are communing with your fellow man. The emotional awareness to build well, right? Initiation into civilization.
Feel good about that throat center, or any other
Yep.
thoughts?
No, I'm good.
So moving on to the head center. So the head center is interesting because it has one gate each in quarter one, which is initiation, that's mental inspiration, and then one in quarter three, which is duality and about relational bonding, and then finally one in quarter four, which is mutation and transformation. And there's zero head gates in quarter two. That's so filled with all the throat center gates we just went over. So yeah, it's just kind of interesting how if you look at it, right, if we're starting off, there's like it's pretty close to the beginning of quarter one. And then it's also interesting that 63 and 64 are actually an opposition. Out of
Yeah.
three head center gates, that there's actually one of them is an opposition. So it's going to show up more either in the sun and the earth or with the nodes. So it's the beginning of quarter one, starts it off, and then it's an opposition in quarter three. And then over here with 61, it's at the very end of quarter four. So I think it's like almost like it bookends it in a way with a little touch in the middle to keep it going.
Well, yeah, and it also says, we're building now, don't pressure us. I mean, that's what immediately came to mind when I saw it the first time, and it's still there now. Civilization wasn't about the pressure, it was about the sheer release of the ajna's brilliance. It doesn't matter that there's really no ajna gates in civilization, but our brilliance as it relates to being able to measure and put it all together, this all is so important as it relates to the explanations that start out the quarter of civilization. The quarter of civilization starts out with openness, and now I'm going to explain it and let's get going. That's how it starts. I'm open to now explaining all of this to you. And all of that, it doesn't need the pressure of the head center. So when you look at where it really is in initiation, initiation in mind, go figure logical doubt is now completely intermixed with emotional mental intelligence. It is logical to become emotionally clear. That's what that says. And when you get over to the other side, it's opposition 64, the confusion. It is important we power into the confusion and basically get through it. And it's so the grace of this part of the wheel says, and to help you out, because confusion's a little doubt we can understand. Confusion's a mess. It's a lot like gate three, total disorder and chaos. Will give you your polarity in 47 in the very next gate. So here they're like, no, we're dealing with this oppressiveness before you bond anything. And then the bonding takes place. And it's clear, it's mentally clear. What is this channel of abstraction to the emotional solar plex center? It is the continuation of the emotional process. Everything in that sensing circuit is tied deeply into the emotional, experiential human process. Um, and so that's what this is doing over here. And then when you get up to the top, 61 is like solve the mystery, the pressure to allow the mystery. And the thing is, its companion showed up already long ago. So as soon as 61 shows up, it's almost like a magic key that says everything that was ever returned to in gate 24 before you ever got to civilization is now going to be given oomph, pressurized oomph to make sense of the pressure around me, which you'll get to when we get to mutations, loaded with pressure, loaded with stress. And this is the mental pressure to create and finish that circuit of awareness of what for, what for. That's the mystery. What for? I'll tell you what for. Gate 13. 1, 2, 3, start again.
Any other?
Interesting,
Yeah.
huh?
Oh, it's super interesting. That's why I was so excited to make this presentation and share it.
Yeah, yeah. Anything you want to add, Moni?
I just like to see how it's this beginning, middle, and end kind of situation that happens. And it's kind of going to continue playing out as we go through the centers. It's almost like an accordion, right? Like it like
Yep.
roop around into it. But we're going to start seeing this pattern of this beginning, middle, end situation. So the pattern play is fun.
Pattern plays out. It's going to get a little busy, folks.
Yeah, we'll build it slowly, but yeah,
Yeah,
there's a
yeah.
few slides that get
You
real
got a
busy.
pause
Be
button
ready.
for a reason, right? Pause button for a reason.
Yeah, take some screen grabs.
Yep.
So moving on to the ajna. So the ajna is really interesting because it kind of like has a similar vibe of this two gates in quarter one, two gates in quarter three, and two gates in quarter four with zero, or two gates in quarter one, two gates in quarter three, two gates in quarter four with zero gates in quarter two. And it's interesting again because you have these green ones are actually also bookending and surrounding these red gates, which we'll get to later. And again, bookending this chunk. And on the end here in quarter four, there's two of them bookending this red energy that we'll get to. So again, we're starting to see this tri split up of the mandala.
Yeah, it's funny. It's almost as if quarter two of civilization is straight up just on autopilot. All the
Yeah.
awareness that has to be had is everywhere else where it belongs. And civilization is just on autopilot. Build it, make it, use this intelligence. The intelligence that shows up from 17 and 24, both of them, creating opinions and returning to new rationales are all that was needed. It was all that was needed. This logical process, couched by 63 before it. I just love that 63 is in the middle of the emotional spread. Hey, 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 let's make some sense out of this. Let's get some intelligence here. Do we understand all of this? Please understand your emotional wave. Is it begging you? Mind.
Hmm.
Like, don't initiate on sheer freak out mode. Get intelligent. Um, it is split up, and they do bookend everything sacral. That is really, really cool. In the not self mind, and we're doing readings and this and that, the sacral is meant, it tells me the sacral is meant to talk to mind really quickly. That's what it says to me.
Yeah,
So
we'll
wake
have
up,
that.
generators. Wake up already.
We'll have it all together on a further slide. But yeah, just to start framing it out in this way, I just think it's absolutely incredible as you start seeing how this is split up and those green bookend around the red. And it's again like it's too precisely programmed. This is not just a mistake. This is not just like our
Random.
entire existence is not just like an accident and a mistake and like what is it? Joe Rogan said that like a little shrew tried really hard and someday he became a human. Like it's just
Right.
too symbolic for it to not like have some kind of divine program from beyond us when you start seeing how intricately designed the wheel is.
mm, Tried really hard. That is funny.
I'll send you
Mona.
the clip later.
Yeah, I can't. That's already got me. So I'm ready for another center.
Fantastic. So now we're going to combine the head and the ajna. So the head and the ajna are evenly split. There's one head center gate and two ajna center gates, each in quarter 1, 3, and 4, and again 0 in quarter 2. And so again with this pattern, what's kind of cool is 63 starts it off. So it's like head, ajna, ajna, and then this one it goes ajna, head, ajna, and then this one goes ajna, ajna, head. So again, there's like this weird mirroring that's precisely happening with how these ajna and head gates are split up. I think that's really cool. It's like covering all bases.
Hit Ajna Ajna, ending with Ajna Ajna head. You know what? This is very, when the quantum folks get a hold of computing, when the quantum computing folks get a hold of this particular pattern, from what I'm seeing, I suddenly just had a hit that I've always been asking, why not trinary? Instead we do binary, right? Ones and zeros in our computing. Trinary is just too fantastically, it would be too hard to wrangle, so they could never quite get there. I'm sure they tried. There's a third line who tried all of it, I promise you. But right, but and with all dude, with the think tanks and all the money they had to figure this
Yeah,
stuff out,
somebody's going to
but
bump into the curiosity of
totally the
course.
curiosity and try it, but they stick with binary to basically mirror the duality of the universe and this, and in my opinion, the sacral on off. But this pattern, head ajna ajna, ajna head ajna, ajna ajna head. This is a loop of such a Chinese thing puzzle to get apart. It's somewhere in this mystical place that they should be looking at.
Yeah,
It seems
because
like
it's
a
like
pattern. It's a Morse code pattern.
yeah, and like there yeah, right. There's a three aspect to it, right? Because you have these three red chunks that we'll get to. But basically it's like you have this three thing, but then it's also kind of a mirror. So it's still kind of just a straight mirror, but also
Mm,
split in three.
mm-hmm. Yep. A logician and a statistician should get together and have a talk about this particular pattern.
Yeah, it's like, do we have some people who know that stuff who are like way smarter than me, and I could just point to weird things I notice and have other people figure out the deeper, scientific meaning of it all? Because it's like there's something there. There's
Yeah,
something there.
Moni, I long for the day when suddenly they are getting into it and they simply need to talk to the old schoolers that know the system to just
Hmm.
talk and get the further clues of what they're going to need to be looking at. Oh, it's
Well,
going to be beautiful.
maybe they'll someday find our YouTube channel in posterity.
I said, no, I'm going to be alive and kicking. They're going to talk right to me, and I'm going to speak right back.
They're communicating. So yeah, this head ajna thing, it's again, we're just building layer by layer and we're going to start adding more. So stick with it. It gets really cool. Do you have any final thoughts on head and ajna?
Nope.
Cool, cool, cool. All right, so moving on to the will center. So the will center has two gates in quarter one gate in quarter three, and one gate in quarter four, and again, zero in quarter two. So what's interesting here, it's like the will starts it and then it finishes it and finishes it. Which kind of makes
Mm,
sense for the will center. The will's like, all right, no one else wants to do it. Are you sure you need me to do this? Fine, I'll do it. And the will start something, and then it's like at the end of it, it's like the sacrals are out of juice, and we got to finish something. All right, like I will rally and push through is kind of the vibe I'm picking up on. And again, it's following this triple pattern that we've already been discussing.
absolutely. And you know what? The gates that are capping this off or starting it off make complete sense. The 21 and the 51. These are two mystical pieces of the wheel. The 51 in the war is the warrior, and the 21 serves the king and controls the things. If these two don't agree, there's problems in the kingdom. But as it relates to their fire, this is the fire through initiation to start essentially the building process, the civilization. When you get over onto duality, gate 40 is just the sensible reasonableness hooked right into the emotional system to make a bond and a bargain and a yes dear that is you can count on is skirted by these two sacral gates that are all about bonding. 29 says bond me into the experiment experience. I say yes, and that is a heck of a bond coming into 46 and becoming this pushing upward and just being in the experience. And gate 59 is clear. We're making babies. We're making babies. We're making babies. And what does 40 do? It's like, I better get to work. I gotta get to work here. Let's get to work. Make sure we got to work. Gate 40 says we're getting to work. And wouldn't you know, gate 40 shows up. This is totally mid and late harvesting season, and 40 has been busy at work the whole time anyways in humanity. And this is where ultimately in here it finds where will it get its liberation. It needs to rest because the real bonding has been energized, but it takes place as soon as we enter the intelligence of the intimacy that gets into the body of 46 and the love of the heartbeat in this point of the wheel that guarantees we now move towards what's next. And when Moni gets to that center, you'll see what that's what's next.
Hmm. Do you have any thoughts about 26 up here?
Oh, 26. Yeah, thanks to the verbose 26, the saber rattler. You should see the one I caught. It was this big. It was, this big. It was like, that's 26. The voice of what is
Don't
it?
let the truth get in the way of a good story.
Of a good story, right? And the one that has the wisdom to know that a bird in the hand is worth two in the bush when it's grounded in itself. That's its first line. But 26, it's there to go big. The taming power of the great, isn't that the egoist, the gate of the egoist, the taming power of the great? You need this gate, and it needs to say something, and it needs to transmit a message, and it comes right at the end of these sacral gates. I love that the sacral and the ego, they go together. And when I was ever wondering why Rob picked this color scheme, I always knew there was a logical pattern. And then Moni came up with this great idea to go around the wheel and chunk it out and find out why, what. Because, how many times I was saying, dude, you got to stare at the wheel. You got to stare at the, I guess one day you did, and you've done it more than once. And then it shows up here. And it's just, that's what a strategic mind does. All I can do is be like, it's amazing.
It's
Well,
so pretty. It has a
it's
pretty story. Just look at it.
what story, Dan? I don't know. I already forgot already. I moved on to another, and it's like I'm not sure. And then the strategic mind comes along and puts it in order. It's amazing. Um, but yeah, 26, the surrendered, not so surrendered ego voice of we certainly can and will do this, and it leads a little party, in those all those sacral gates before it. Those sacral gates are all straight up power. 14 power, 34 power, 9 the taming power of the 5 sets the rhythm. I guess it's tantric, so it might be a little different, but the first 3 are certainly power.
You ready to dive into the sacral?
Is that what's next?
That's what's next.
Light it up, baby.
So moving on to the sacral center. So again, we can see this like triple split situation. And the sacral center has 3 gates in quarter one, 2 gates in quarter three, and 4 gates in quarter four. And again, 0 in quarter two. And like Danny said, it's right next to the will and the sacral, which we'll talk about them together. But what are your thoughts on the sacral?
Well, again, these pushes that happen, initiation starts with the possibility of emotional awareness, intelligence, and clarity. God, I can't wait till we get there. But it isn't that which actually builds the civilization. The civilization needs its oomph. And so before we get to the conclusory rationale of why we're about to build civilization and what the heck was initiation, the return, you get this umph moving into the receptive. This this is the sacral insemination of this receptive to go build something and make it all grow and put it on autopilot. It is on autopilot, guided by the love of humanity. When you get into civilization, it doesn't need much more. A little root action, and that's it. That's it. It's amazing what goes on in there, couched in direction and love, but really it's all throat gates mostly.
Hmm.
So when you get over to, yeah, I almost stopped. So when you get over to the duality, you see that what starts this, these are burning hot gates. 59 and 29 are looking to make their two respective commitments. One is the commitment, yeah, we're making a child, but the first one, 29, is the commitment of entering into the experience of what will soon be the body. And it's a wicked personal place, so personal that you got to go through confusion. You got to get to some realization. The realization is oppressive before you realize something. Before you realize it, it's oppression. That's what the I Ching called it, and it's true. I live that out. And you got to go through the whole process, which is very dicey. It's dicey. Gate 6. And it's so important here that 59 and 6 will make this source wave channel, will make the channel of intimacy, the channel of mating, and then boom, into the love of the body. And the story after that is gorgeous after we get into the love of the body. But this is the oomph to start. Here was the oomph to get into civilization and to conclude. And then when we get up into initiation, clearly this is the oomph to start. This is the oomph to like get this initiatory process like well energized, but not before the creative and not before the actual insight that already has its explanatory power inside a civilization. I'm talking about 43 and 23.
So you meant
It's
transformation before, not initiation.
Say that again.
You were going from the quarter of duality and then you started talking about initiation, but I think you meant
I meant
transformation.
I meant transformation and mutation. If I said initiation, I meant a mutation
Hmm.
where we transform things. Yep, Moni's right. And so the 43 still has to have the insight, and that insight is predicated on the creative. This is the place where the creative fires grab their insights, can ultimately be explained, and start to burn hot. The whole thing in here is about burning and getting something forged into place for the new start. This is a harvest of a different kind, where we harvest the capital and we harvest our bonds and we harvest our nine-centered way and we harvest the fact that at this point in time, the love and direction heartbeat of our movement around the wheel has basically concluded. It's about to start all over again. There's only one more pump and it's gate 10. So this is where we're concluding a process and starting something else. We conclude with the fires of the sacral and the ego, and when we get to it, we pump back in energy and we shock awake with the paddles of the stress and the adrenaline. Look at it like adrenaline and norepinephrine. And when we get over to the second part of this quarter, so it is wicked transformative. In fact, in here, you can see a little heartbeat all its own. Sacral oomph, and then the paddles, boom, you could sub heartbeat within the overall greater framework. Yeah.
Isn't that
Yay,
cool?
mutation.
Do you feel good about the sacral or any other thoughts?
Nope. I think that's pretty good.
Yeah. So now we're going to look at the will and the sacral together. And again, they're evenly split with quarters one, three, and four, with 0 gates in quarter two. And the will starts and finishes it, right? We get here, the will starts it off, the sacral continues it, sacral continues it, will finishes it, sacral continues it, will finishes it.
It's like It's as if they're their own little stop codons, like we have in the throat in the first place. And so when you put all these together, just love the fact that they clump together. This ego sacral business is it's actually a spiritual place, in a few thousand years, depending on how long humanity and all of what's happening in our mutation, depending on what is really going on, we're designed to finally one day connect sacral in the willpower, the will center inside the body graph. Right now, there is no direct connection between the two. These two are meant to merge at one point because no matter what happens, the wheel remains the same. So this will be here. There's 64 codons on this planet, and this represents all 64 of them. So when we get our next update, we shall see. I won't be around to see it, unfortunately, but maybe I will. You never know. Anyway, them clumping together the way they do shows this incredible capacity to basically make the fire that makes the civilization get grown. I love that civilization has none of these aspects in it. Again, it's straight Department of Planning here in civilization. They really don't need it. Everything was everywhere else. In fact, it makes sense when you look at it that way. We just are trying to manifest, put all these other components of us that need to be there elsewhere. And then when you see the fact that they're strung together, when Moni and I were talking about it, it finally made sense as to why the sacral and the ego are the two ones that are painted red in the schema he chose. I like sticking with the schema he chose. It makes
Yeah,
more
same.
sense when I stick with it, and I've seen it get, changed around a lot, and I get it, but I like this.
Yeah, same. Like I've seen people do a lot of different like fun color things with the body graph and the wheel, and it's like super cool. Like people are going to be creative and do their thing. But as Danny said, once I started really looking into the meaning of the colors and I just arranged it out on this presentation, I was like, oh, like, and that was the thing is nobody could ever tell me the meaning behind the colors of the centers. Like nobody who like studied with Ra or anything, like no one ever had like a direct answer for that. And I was like, there's no way that with as specific as this is, Raw didn't pick these colors for a specific reason. And I knew it was there, but I didn't know what it was. And then, yeah, as I started breaking down the wheel in this way, we started to see how the colors interact and how by doing this kind of exploration, you're like, no, 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 there's a meaning and it's perfect. So I also love the standard colors.
Yeah, and it even makes sense why the yellow, because the only center that is peppered around the wheel, like the G center, if you look, I mean, the G center is evenly peppered throughout the wheel, but the head center it's a floater. So he gave it to the G center. I even understood that when I saw this that way, but yeah,
Yeah, the
Ajna
G
stands
set.
alone.
Yeah, exactly. The ajna is the only one that's green. Yeah, the ajna kind of like sets you up to be like, no, there's or not the ajna. The identity center sets you up to know that the colors have a meaning as they're like split exactly in four.
Yeah,
So it's
yeah,
pretty perfect. Ready, Mosey?
yeah.
So now moving on to the will, sacral, and ajna center. So we're starting to get kind of busy. The ajna basically bookends the will and the sacral. So if you look at all these red gates where we have the will and the sacral, they're all surrounded by these like green ajna gates. Same thing on over here in quarter three, the will and the sacral bookended by the ajna gates. And finally in quarter four, same thing. The sacral and will gates bookended by the ajna gates. Like that's too perfect. And like Ra obviously wanted us to notice something about it.
Right, exactly. And it starts with the quarter of mind. And again, I love the way that you can't help but to bear this out. The emotional mind. If you want, you could say the ego sacral emotional mind. It's generated. It's ego, but all the motors are on this. You can see the motors all here as part of what I'm saying. Um, represented here. I mean, even the root has a gate or two there, I think. But actually, there's no root in in initiation, is there?
Nope, root. It will do
Nope.
it later, but the root is all in quarter two and quarter four.
Yep. So, anyways, you bookend these things this way. So let's make sense of the first one, initiation. Make sense of it. Make sense of it. Incorporate it into mind. Mind is so important, dude, because we need to understand stuff. And what do they give us? The root of understanding. Part of the root of understanding. Gate 17. Okay. And then uh, uh, we move over to duality. And what did they give us to start it off again? Logic. Gate 4. The answers.
Oh, wow, I didn't
Yes.
pick that one up.
Yeah,
That's
so this is
interesting.
due there. This under, I've said it many times. There's only one circuit that is meant to be ubiquitous amongst all of humanity as it relates to how we can get things and communicate, and it's the understanding slash, the side of the collective circuitry that is about logic and understanding. I mean, the emotional stuff, we got to get people to see the picture. We got to tell lots of stories. The individual stuff, we got to empower the other, and that's a freak. They don't always line up at all, And self empowerment, that's just I. This is mind, and we got to understand it. So it starts it out with the understanding process, But when we finally get into the quarter of initiation, they're like, no, in the eyes, no
Transformation.
transformation. I did it again, didn't I? Yeah, thank you, Moni. And we
I'm
get into
on
the
it.
quarter of mutation, transformation. We get into the I know business. We get into the totally into the I know business, and we end with the ideas business. I would like to point out that when we're in the quarter of duality where we are bonding, we get to the logic, but when we get to the 47 that bookends it, in this one spot, it was so important that the oppression not get thrown awry. They gave it its polarity so the life force could arrive at the same time in gate 64. Gate 64 is here rendering an assist to the bookend so that the bookend doesn't by chance fall off and forget it's supposed to be there in the morass of its oppressiveness from all the confusion it's been receiving. I mean, that's just sort of where it is, but logic starts it, and then the story ends it. In the beginning, logic starts it in initiation, and then the rationale ends it. This is like, hey, let's get to the knowing and let's make it smart. When we get up to mutation, knowing starts it, and the whole experiential idea process finishes it in gate 11. So they're interested in a logical process moving into the ideas ultimately, and they go through a great lengths to make it all unfold here. By the time you get up to the top, basically all the definitions are there except the pressure of 61 because it's got its own special job. It's right around the corner in gate 61 when you get to it. So I like how these things bookend that and they make sense. And by the way, it very much shows yes, mind. Yes, mind, not no mind. Lots of mind. We love it. We love the calculating mind. We love the logical mind. We love the experiential mind. We love that crazy pressurized knower, the thinker that gets us to have all these crazy insights that mutate stuff, make sense of it, explain it, show it, get you to see the picture, get you to hear the story. We love mind. We love its measuring. We love its calculating. We love everything it can remember and put together abstractly, logically. Unfortunately, it's the home of the not self. So it gets all this bad rap. But in its grandeur, in its glory, she is here to actually see to the safety of the fire. The reds are the fires, and the mind is seeing to the safety of the fires,
Ah,
tending the fires, not the emotions, not the root, nothing else. Mind. I find that interesting. I don't want my spleen tending the fire. My spleen will tell me that I better tend it better, but I want mind looking and knowing where the hose is and being able to articulate what's the scoop and know where the wood pile is and being able to pick up the phone and call my friend to drop off some more wood.
hmm. Or think, oh, what if this happens? Well, then this will happen, and the mind can run a simulation.
Let it run its Sims. Yes, the Sims.
And having it in its right place, knowing that the mind runs simulations all day. That's what it does. And some of them might be right, and some of them, most of them are just daydreaming and simulations and whatever. So it's like, there's this whole like no mind, no mind. And I get it, meditation, super groovy, gravy, all the things. But also, it's like maybe some mind in its correct place doing its correct role. Like, we don't have a mind for nothing. It's not an accident. It's not a oops, you have this thing and now you're using it too much. It's like, no, the mind has its place and its purpose when you have it in its right place and its purpose to run simulations and go, oh, no, that's interesting. Oh, that's interesting without thinking, oh my God, this, and now I have to make decisions with it and let it, ruin my life.
Mm, Yeah, I just noticed this today now, tending the fires,
I
because we've
like
talked
that
about it
analogy a lot.
so many times. I want mine tending the fires. Yeah.
Yeah, it almost imagines it like when you have like a little fire and you have like the stones around it to like
Yeah.
the fire's super great, but you want the fire in its place and you want the mind that's run those simulations and seen the things that can happen, that's ready with a fire extinguisher, you
And when you
know?
yes, and when you put the stones around the fire, just to show your mind is also a same is a it's an awareness center. All the awareness centers are just as much mystical places and spiritual places as they are mental places or logical. So if you think about it, when you put those stones around the fire, every time I had to put stones around a fire, I wasn't happy until it was pretty and it looked good and it seemed to make some kind of statement with the fire. There's no logic in that, but even my logical self would want to do it. So mind is beautiful. It's just no good when it tries to make decisions for the self. That's
Yeah,
all. One
mind in its
little
correct
arena.
place.
Yeah, one little spot. It needs to stay in its lane, and everywhere else, it's a toy box. It can do whatever it wants. Frankly, think whatever you want, buddy. Free country. Um, yeah, good.
Super. Go ahead.
No, good. I feel good.
Oh, awesome, Mosey.
Hmm.
So now, again, we're getting a bit busy. We're adding we have the identity center. So we have will, sacral, identity, and ajna. And I kind of did, I did these big circles to again show this like three-prong system where the identity gates basically bookend the ajna, bookending the will and the sacral. A lot of layers there, but the ajna bookends the ajna, bookending the will and the sacral. And 13 and 15 are kind of like in between. We're like the 13's holding strong in the beginning, and then you have the first chunk of this similar bookend of sacral with will, then the ajna around it, and then the identity around the ajna, and then right in the middle, we're checking in with gate 15 to handle the extremes in the middle of summer. And then we have our next chunk where same thing. We have sacral, will, ajna, ajna, and then the identity booking it around it. And here our third one in the final quarter, same thing. Sacral gates with the will, ajna bookending, and then the identity bookending that. Like, that's neat.
Gate 13 is the ultimate alpha omega bookend all by itself, just
Yeah.
as a full gate. As a line, that goes to gate 54, line 4, but as a full gate, it goes to 13. It's not 10. I've looked at plenty of gates. Which one is the alpha omega? It's gate 13. Gate 13 represents the entire collective story of our entire past in our full human experiential way. So when we go talking to someone, we don't logic them up. We ask them, "How are you? Hey, what's new? What's the scoop?" Out comes the prodigal here, and then we talk about all the logic that took place and all the things you came to know. But the first thing you do is check in on your experience. How's your experience going? How are you? How's the experience going for you here on planet Earth, on the rock, third rock from the sun, going all the speed, different place every day, always moving. So if you look at what does bookend it, the universal love bookends into the fires and the intelligence to enter into the receptive. So the universality impregnates the receptive. It just slides right in and becomes the universal building of our infrastructure and our civilization, which includes all of us, by the way. This is also building of the Maya, if you think about it. And at least one of the gates of the Maya is going to be here. Anyways, 15 need only stand alone because everyone's with it. The building of the civilization and the manifestation guarantees everyone's in the same place at the same time. That's the only way to manifest is all together, ultimately, bring all those voices together. I mean, during some of the building, that's when all the slaves would have been brought together. But in our unique nine-centered way, we certainly hope it's all the uniqueness coming together, which is mainly what goes on. 15 need only be there as a traffic cop right in the middle. Don't worry, it's extreme. We'll make it modest. It's good. Don't worry. Don't worry. We got this. Hey, have a little party. Summer struggle party. Okay, get back. Keep building. You love it. You love it. Here's some more stress. You love it. Um, and then so 15 and 13 make sense standing alone. They're good. And they're counterpoints to each other. They are the vessel and the sphinx. It's not both vessels, not both sphinx.
And
And
even
then when
like
you
the
get
extremes being into the story. Like the story includes the crazy thing that happened. Oh my God,
right.
did you hear crazy thing?
Oh God, yes, that's one complete way in which they complement each other. Absolutely. And then for me, so when you get into the bonding, it is the army of the people. draining out of the civilization process, moving into their warm homes, getting ready for their harvest, communing with the people, burning those sections of fires brightly, so that as we move into the colder times, when we get into the second half of this quarter, when you light up the next couple centers, you'll see that this dude, your cursor is perfect with what I'm saying. It's like
because I'm
freaky. I
because I'm
know
doing
that. I see that. It's
I'm
amazing.
controlling it. Thank
It's
you.
like, yes, it's like it's amazing. But the 7 and the 46. So the 7 says, I am the army of the people. This is, we shall interact, folks. Civilization had plenty of interaction, but it didn't have its role in interaction. That starts the quarter of duality. Our role in now interacting with the other. What does that role lead to as we get the fires and make sense of it? This is the only place where a definition shows up as it relates to making sense of something. It's very important we make sense of this. We didn't need a definition to show up when we were in this transformative mutation. We didn't need a definition to show up as it relates to the ajna and the head center. We needed one here. We needed one here, and it's the 64 and the 47, and it moves through this incredible, delicate process of the 64, 47, 6. All of these things are contemplating great deals of stuff. And then 46, the love of the body, we will now bond. Basically, it's almost like a one step and a two step, like a line 1 and a line 4. The foundation of the whole quarter is in line 7, and the line 4 would be this 46, externalizing the love of the body that becomes the foundation of this, just the upper part of this quarter. It's easy to look at it that way, and they make perfect bookends because of the love of being in the experience as the self. Um, Already has its gate 29. It's there earlier. So it makes, by the time this hits, 46 is now in the full um, life force of 2946. The fires are tended. The fires bring the body's experience into play. It is part of the vessel of love. It's part of universal love because that's it's whatchamacallit. It's a
Opposition.
on the other side. Thank you. An initiation. And then it all starts out this platform, this bedding, this soft place for what comes up in a moment when Moni lights up that center. This is the absolute easy to see preparation for what's about to happen in this quarter of bonding. This is where the most intense, important, and even tribal stuff takes place in my humble opinion. This is where the deals are made, and this is where so much stuff matters, and this is where we always come home to, and this is where we end up hanging our hat. This is where our family is. This is where the experience of our body is. Hey, I love a bunch of extremes. Yeah, you're way over there in civilization. You're not in this business. Hey, Mr. Mutative Direction. Yeah, you got something freaky to explain. Oh, that's great. You don't belong here. We're communing. This is the place of the greatest shared communion. 29 and 46 guarantee everything gets brought into the shared experience. For some logical reason, no, no, not at all. It's abstract, it's sensing. We're sensing which way do we go. We got given away by 7, and we'll find out which way we ended up going when we get to 1. And it is a creative. It starts with the creative of making the babies. It starts with the creative knowing why, and it starts with ends with ultimately the creative when we get into gate 1, the ultimate, through the bonding process. It's no good if home sucks. It's just no good. Everywhere else is cool. Hey, mind, great, doing a bunch of stuff. Got a lot of emotions going on. You got clear, all the fire in the quarter of mutation is like, I don't even know what those guys are doing. It's just they're running around busy and pressurized. Here it's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Got a little bit of pressure, a little bit of busy, I mean. Hardly any pressure, no pressures here. There's no stress here. Stress gone. Manifestation, great. That was sexy. That was for you over there. We don't care. Show off. We don't need it. We have our own bonded expression, and it's given flight through. By the way, when we get to the gate 59 here, that's making more, and then the gate 6 above, it's the second definition made. This thing is filled with the made. You're not making definition like this elsewhere. This is erecting a set of definition and life force guaranteeing that we are going to see proper bonding, right? 29 makes it with a 46, 59 makes it with 6, 64 with 47. These definitions are made here. That's not that way in the other parts of the wheel. as it relates to this. There's a lot. Is there more? Is there any eighth of the wheel that makes more definition? No.
I don't know if there's that, yeah, because if we go over here, we have 1949 and 3141 that bookend around the 13, but I think it's two channels where this quarter of bonding, this chunk has three channels.
Yep.
I do have another patterns around the wheel because we're going to do a few on this series. I do have one that I've started looking at where the channels connect to see where do they connect, where we have
Oh God,
three
that's
over
going to
here.
be glorious. We'll be able
I,
to see at the end and spin the wheel and watch the channels come in
yeah,
ultimately. Yeah,
yeah,
that's insane. That's going to be cool.
yeah, I
Um,
thought you'd like that
you
one.
know, I don't know why you stopped doing the donations thing or whatever, but put the donations back up when you do that one because I mean, it's like, dude, I'm going to tell people, dude, you see what Moni just did? Will you donate already? Um, so when I move up here into the last one, I don't need to say any more about duality. Duality is just wicked important. This is where the planning happens, and it's where it feels like. Um, so up here in initiate, I mean, I did it again in mutation, where all of this transformation is taking place. The fires are again bookend by our intelligence. And where are we here? We're just in the ultimate yang of the creative, line gate one. And that speaks directly to our behavior. So we are retooling our creative, unique behavior through the freak, through the work that we get done, through the power of the great, actually, just the power, the gate of power, through the taming of all the details, through ending with 26's announcement. Hey, we're coming. And that the wisdom of 11 to tell the right story, to lead into the behavior. This place of the wheel is wicked important to like set notice the fires burn and they get tended. The fires burn and they get tended. In each place the fires are, clearly it's doing the right cooking for what comes next. It's just so clear. No place goes without its warmth. Even though there's none of these gates are in the quarter of civilization, if you just look at how this is spread out around the wheel, it's relatively equidistant. Not totally, but it's close. It's close enough. All the halls of our growth around the wheel are kept warm and lit by the fires of these two spots. Yep, yep. And I love that the identity here is our creative behavior, our creative behavior. That's what's here. So let's get the me right. That's what's here, right? The love of myself moving in this direction, my creative self while we're at it. So you don't get much more me than that. So let's get the me part of this. We bonded. Notice after bonding, you can find yourself. That's what this says. After bonding, you can take all the sacral and ego juice and find yourself and get to the me part. The me makes sense because the sudden knowing tells us how it's going to be with all the stories. Notice the sudden knowing it goes with a story here. And all of that ends up in the story of essentially our behavior, our love of ourself. So my love of my creativity, my love of myself, those fires are what burns here in order to set up the stress in the second half of this quarter to start it all over again at the alpha omega of the 13.
Well, the 54 and yeah, and then the other one, the 13.
Yep.
'Cause we're
Well,
gonna hit
again,
that.
the alpha omega as a whole gate and the alpha omega as a line.
Yeah.
Yep. So I'm
Super
pretty
cool,
good there. Yep.
Mosey. Oh, there we go. Oh no, because we didn't. Yeah, we did this. Oh no, now because I added the head center. Cool. They get a little like busy. So I'm like, what did I do? How many times did I click? So now, continuing on, we're going to add the head center. So we have the will, the sacral, the identity, and the head. So the identity bookends the ajna, bookending the will and the sacral, and the head is kind of like a beginning, middle, and end with again that 13 15 kind of in between. So the 13 starts it off, the 15 hits us in the middle of summer, but if we look at the head center, it's before the first cluster, then it's in the middle of the second cluster, and then it's at the end of the third cluster before we go back into the new year.
Yeah, you know what? This, because it's the source of our inspiration, because this is the pressure to ask the question, the existential questions of the four types. Who are you? Who am I? What's my impact? And who are they? Because it pressures what the head center does, pressures the translation of our existence. And who's going to translate it? Not Grok, not Chat GPT, us. We're the ones who are going to deep seek will get it. No, no, it's us that are supposed to translate this existence. Think about what the pressure to translate existence is. It's a pressure to get to the answer of what the heck? What is this? What is all the how? Why me? Why fingernails? I mean, everything. There's no end. Pressure exists. Why do I love her? Why do I love him? You know, why wouldn't I? Or whatever. All the why, what, when, who, where, if, are you sure? All of this pressure to get this game going of translating our own existence. So it lets us know the question itself is this place of great importance, mystical importance, karmic importance, logical importance, experiential importance, the importance of our spirit itself is wrapped up in this, is part of this pressure. So when you think about it that way, the pineal gland is attached here. The head center is connected to is the pineal gland. That is its main thing. And the pineal gland, as everyone keeps noticing, appears to be directed outward into the universe, almost like an antenna. So it's a little bit of both. It's in us and it's out of us. You put all that together, you get to initiation. Gate 63 is to bring logic and intelligence into the emotional process that is turbulent. It's turbulent waking up a solar plex center in a plane that never had it woken before. A lot goes on there. A lot of blame, shame, and guilt comes out of there if we don't have a logical process that'll write about some of this. And when you get down and pass through civilization, you get over there, here it gets too confusing. We needed it in the middle of it. We need in the middle of the pressure. I want these questions answered. Put the rest of that life force together right now. Just put it there. We need it. And so it's there supporting what I keep calling sort of the most important quarter in a way, because this is where we care the most. We get together here. It's not that we weren't together in civilization, we were, but we were whistling while we worked. This is getting together in the bonding personal process where communion really takes place. And by the way, where the consciousness really grows. You're not going to get a lot of consciousness growth just from sacral gates. You'll just get a lot of movement, a lot of stuff going on, busyness. We need the mind. We needed this confusion. And so ultimately the confusion got poked in the middle. This is an insertion. And then when we get over up into the channel of mutation where the transformation takes place, it's in the middle of these root gates. All the stress has to have its answers as to what's the mystery of it all. You're pushing me into a place we need to come to a final knowing. I would like you to notice that when you get to these last few gates, these are all completing life force channels. So when you start at 61 and you realize I complete the life force channel of awareness, I complete the life force channel of mutation in gate 60, I complete the life force channel of the start codon in the human experiential way, and I complete the life force process of synthesis, our role in actually coming to meet and coming together. Not coming to meet, but an approach which makes us meet, and it makes us spiritually enter into a bond in this channel of synthesis. 1949, the root of our spiritual path, as well as the root of the marriage bond and the making the first bargains. So 61 is in there to give awareness to this from the channel of awareness. And it's like, hey, you needed it just in time. Someone turn on that dang light of the channel of awareness of the thinker. Someone turn it on. And the light clicks on here, right in the middle of the stress. Where shall we transform? What shall we fight for? Where is the joy? It's all here in these root center gates. So I can't wait till that comes online. I just think it's peppered in just right. Each time it's there to save the day. Could someone put the light on? Hey, the solar plex woke up. It's messy in here. It's a little murky. Someone put the light on. Hey, the bonding is taking place. I love it. It's moving quite quickly. The whole army's here. We got ideas of youthful folly's got all these answers. Clear up the confusion. Turn the light on. Clear up because there's confusion. We're moving into bonding. We've got no room for confusion. It's got to get turned on. We need that light force. And then when you look up here, it's like all the stress. We have the fires burning. Why are we under so much stress? We're moving, movement. So, hey, someone turn the light on. Where are we going? Where are we going? So these speak, it's as if these yellow gates speak in direct concert with the Sphinx and the love gates of the identity. It's as if they're direct assists, they're little satellites of the identity process and our movement towards love and direction, our movement of our love in a direction, in the direction of like our behavior and all, and our love of ourself. And these are little, these are hallway lights in the middle of the hallway. So when you get up to go to the bathroom, you don't bump into things. Someone turned the light on. I like the last light. I love the last light. The mystery of it all and the power that had to go through and the falling out of Eden in gate 11 and this whole confusion process that will take place up here when you don't know what that pressure is for. Someone please turn the light on. And that would be the Sphinx requisitioning that light to get turned on. Our direction needs the light turned on. So get that pressure going and finish those light force channels. It's funny, if you get to the end of the wheel, you have to realize whatever gates are there, they're completing the last channels in the body graph. So it'd be interesting just spiritually and mystically, what are the last channels of the body graph? If you just start at 61 or anywhere in there, you see, oh my God, this is sort of a sensible story in order to finally land in the approach and make the principles that'll come up in gate 49 in a minute again. That starts the process all over again. Anyway, I feel pretty good about these yellow. Yeah, I never saw them before as little satellites. I'll never not see the Pred Center as little satellites for our G Center. Thank you, Ra. I knew he had a reason for all of it. He tried to say he didn't. There's no particular rhyme or reason. They're staying that way. He said that once. He was BSing.
Yeah.
He thought this through deeply. There's no way he had all those contemplations, did the whole I Ching, spent all that time doing that, and then didn't like have realizations and various things in that crazy turned on head of his. I mean, awareness, right? The unconscious knower. Yeah, he picked these on purpose. So thanks, Rob. This is a nice visual assist once you start looking at it this way.
Yeah. Mosey,
Mosey. I got really animated there, Moni.
a little bit. It was fun.
Yeah. All right.
So moving on to the root center. So the root center, it's like the page looks so empty after all that busyness.
Yep.
So going to the root center, we have 3 root center gates in quarter 2, which is then like the middle of the mandala wheel. This is about form. This is about material form and bringing things into the world. And then we have 6 gates in quarter 4, which is at the very end. This is transformation. It's like form and transformation, form and transform, with 0 gates in quarter 1 and quarter 3, which is kind of very interesting. So
Initiations. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, it kind of feels like when you are playing like a pinball game or like a slingshot over here, where these gates up here in quarter 4, it's like it's pulling the slingshot back, it's pulling the pinball plunger, and it shoots us into the mandala with quarter 1. And then halfway through, we get this little root boost to get us around the other side.
Mm. It's total slingshot. And so I understand the root boost, great term, um,
Thanks.
inside of the quarter of civilization. It's just sitting there to make sure the right stress is moving us. And by the way, civilization is a big business. It needs to get things started over and over again. It needs to literally provoke the spirit to make sure it's doing the right thing. And it needs to sit still and focus and concentrate sooner or later. I get those gates why they're there. You move everything up into initiation and it is a stress factory, and clearly it shows clearly why 61 is put in the middle of all of that. We need awareness. There is
Transformation.
no, what we need awareness in the quarter of transformation in between all these root gates. Did I say
I know you,
initiation again? Jeez, what's up with that?
yeah,
Huh.
quarter of transformation.
Yep. So, but it's easy to see why 61 is couched in the middle of all of that. It's like turn the light on here. It's just so easy to see. And then you start to realize the fires burn, the love of self must light the way. The story and the idea is so important because it's the teacher, it finishes the teaching. Gate 12 already took place, gate 11 needs to show up. And all of that fire burns to teach of the love of the self. And we move into stress and pressure to move. I mean, the only reason for that is to create the slingshot effect. to get all of our ducks in a row. Lots of planning goes on here, but it's the kind of planning that's making sure we got the right purpose, we got all the right parts, we got all the right things we're identifying with, we've got the right hunger to get moving, we've got the right everything. Hopefully, we've broken through the limitations and now we're successfully with resources able to approach. This is the stress to gather up the resources ultimately. The cross of the four ways are the four gates that happen right before the four Sphinx gates. So gates 19, 24, moving around, we get to 44 and
30,
oh yeah,
33,
33. Yep,
and
33.
then
I missed that.
44.
And then 44. Gate 19, the way of approach, is what the fire is burned for and what the stress and the movement and the capacity to handle stress. This isn't just wild stress we can't handle. This is the capacity to become intelligent about how we handle our stress. You have a defined root center, you actually process the stress field of the adrenaline of the root field that is on the planet. You process that just fine. You move through the pressure. This is our becoming teacher of the fires burn. We move through the process of stress and pressure, and we bring it all to a point of resource. The way of initiation is to create the ultimate resource to then approach gate 13 and become the alpha. In this case, approach as the omega and start up the alpha all over again. I suppose it wouldn't matter. It could go either way. Approach the alpha omega with the resources so you can start all over again through the collective human experience, through the emotional mind, and it just starts all over again. So I like the placement of these. It made sense when you see them all chunked together, and it certainly makes sense why in civilization you don't need a head center gate. Up here I did it again. Up here in mutation, you do need one, and the wheel is wise. It said, there you go. I feel pretty good.
Yeah, it's some fascinating stuff. And when you really like break it down, it's like, oh no, this is all so intimately connected. So moving on to the solar plexus. So the solar plexus has 6 gates in quarter one and 1 gate in quarter three.
Initiation is emotional business. And just like the motorized pressure stress of the soul of the root center just a moment earlier in the quarter of mutation, here in this quarter of initiation, it does the same thing. 49 is a little bit tumultuous, These principles say you can or can't come here. They do. It's called the gate of revolution. Gate 30 is just a wild fire hose of feelings, the clinging fire. Will I ever get this feeling I long for, I hunger for? That don't necessarily explain why. I can't really explain why. Too much stuff going on here. 55, the spirit. This gate burns hot too, man. My spirit must be provoked. And if I don't have the right spirit, nothing's going to work. So this is tumultuous in and of itself. 37 is not so tumultuous. It gets a little more logical in that sense because it's building a community, but it doesn't have its gate 40 yet. And so its fear is alive and clear. The fear of tradition and the fear that, the gods might not favor you. Please keep traditions in a certain way. And so after all that tumultuousness, before we get to grace, and before we get to 36, which is like a fire, an atomic bomb all by itself, we need some understanding here, folks. We're 4 or 5 gates into this quarter, and we need some understanding. And 63 pressures that understanding. It pressures the question of, what is all of this? What's the scoop here? Let's clear this up. I need some answers. It pressures. Let's get some answers. And the emotional process doesn't say, oh, let's get some answers. It says go up and down on a wave until you're relatively clear, which will be the answer. And here is basically highlighting, turning the light on. Hey, it's a logical process, this emotional process. Go figure. We can put those two things in the same sentence. That's because this gate is here, 63, saying in the middle of the emotional solar plex center, there's a logical process to all of that. And you will come to clarity, which you'll have an understanding through clarity. And this is the pressure to basically make that understandable. So the emotional process doesn't just fly away and it's up and down wave. thinking life is nothing but misery and chasing glory and flames of passions. It's no good that way. You only need one. If you're going to put gate 6 in some place, it doesn't need any compadres. Gate 6 can stand by itself because it is empowered by the sacral. Gate 59, lo and behold, that showed up just a little bit earlier in this quarter. All these definitions are made here, as we noticed before. And gate 6 is our role in our intimacy. It becomes a profiling gate. It is the ways in which our behaviors will act in so many different ways. I mean, there's everything from kindness and meanness in here to the ultimate satisfaction of the sixth line of this, which is a type of victory and peace. It's a peacemaker ultimately. And it's the peace that can come after the foundations of retreat of gate 6 are met, saying, I I must have the right intimacy. I must open myself up to the right intimacy. And what happens the second that's done? We move into the body. So we went through the fires of the army showing up, setting up the platform to get into the duality. And someone's got to come along with the key and be like, which intimacy? Which intimacy? Unlock that for me. Unlock that for me, or we can't bond. And 46 says, we have love of body, my child. Don't you worry. It will unlock. And then we move into the very last sensor, which you're waiting for. I know it's last sensor because, it's the last one so far. So I'm excited because it's the key to it. It answers.
Oh, Danny, just lost your volume. You're muted. You're muted. You just.
I submit to you that this piece of this quarter and this quarter in general is so important that all the other quarters potentially serve it. Take the bonding away from humanity. We have no meaning.
We have no people.
We have no people. Right. Yeah. Duh. Right. Take gate 6 and point it outwards into the universe and have all that energy just spill into nothingness. We have no people. There are no babies made. And Moni is right. So I give this quarter such importance for that way. It assembles itself with all those channels being made in the beginning. It's like a rector. It's assembling, self-assembling. Is this quarter of the bonding that we make? So I feel pretty good about this solar plex.
Yeah, isn't it neat? The one other thing I wanted to mention is that it's interesting that even 6 standing all alone here is opposition with the 36, which is kind of funny. If, like, what is this, 6 out
Oh,
of 7 solar plexus gates are all on one side, and the one remaining just happens to be in opposition,
right. Oh, dude, that's an incredible bookend of its own.
right?
So basically, by the time you get here, not only do we need to get it straight, but we also not only have its definition in gate 59, but we also have its opposition. We have its programming partners. Um, Gate 6, too bad. 50. Oh, we're about to run into gate 50. Its other programming partner. There's always three programming partners. Your the gate on the other side that makes the light force channel. We call that the polarity. The opposition on the other side of the wheel, which is an obvious programming partner. It makes a cross, right? And then we've got its mirror on the other side. Not every
Okay,
gate seems to have a mirror on the other side.
Okay, so let me just rephrase that to make sure everyone understands, right? So, like, let's use gate 6 as an example. So Danny is saying there's like 3 programming partners that each gate has. So for gate 6, it would be 6 with 59 because that's the other end of its channel. So 6 and 59 have a link, and then 6 and 36 because 36 is the opposition of 6. So
Yeah.
that's another
Second
programming partner.
programming partner. Yeah.
And then the final one would be if you look at the mirror effect of the body graph, then the 6 with gate 50 would be
They're
its like
mirrors.
mirror partner.
Totally, totally. And we
So
mirror it all the way through, right? Every time we look at 55, we see its mirror in 28. Most of the gates all up and around this. Only the individual gates down the center do I have a hard time finding the mirrors for. I don't know that they were unique. I don't know that they're meant to have their actual mirror because you can justify it several different ways. But clearly in all the other things that go up around the side and cradle us in this beautiful cradle, they all mirror.
hmm
Totally. So that's incredible. It's got all three of these programming partners either in this quarter or already having happened. So duality, by the time we get here, the forces and the genetic code are intent on us opening ourselves up to the right intimacy. They're intent on this getting this right. And it's given all kinds of sacral empowerment, gate 40, when it gets here, that is the home of the bargain. Of course it can get done, and it works through its confusion. By the time we get here, you're not confused, you're open, and the pH is right, and we will bond, and you will get this right or you are fired, basically. Right? I mean, six has got an important job here. No six, no openness. Imagine if it was all closed and atrophied away. No humanity. That's a pretty that's a pinch point right there. I'm glad we have six in there. What the sixth line of gate six is the peacemaker, and it's the force and authority to make the peace. So I think it's well placed.
Oh, good.
I
Mosey?
approve. I approve, by the way. I approve. You may continue.
Danny's seal of approval.
My seal of approval.
Mosey?
Nosy. I'm
So
getting tired.
I know. We're on the last center. We're almost done.
No, but it's
But
good. It's like it's exhausting me. The
oh,
sacral energy is
good.
being
I'm
used
I'm
right.
using up your sacral like a
You
good
totally do. I'm
projector.
actually getting like, yeah, like, oh, whew.
We're on the last one. You're on a marathon.
Yeah.
So you just need a final wind. So next up, we have the spleen, and all these spleen gates are at the end of quarter three, the quarter of duality, which is about bonding. And it's almost like it's ensuring health after the bonding. And what's also interesting about this chunk is we hit all these spleen gates during October, and the spleen is about safety and like your fears. And October is spooky season. So we literally run through all the splenic fears through the month of October. And so you have spooky season with the spleen gates, and it's also coupling season before it's all wintry and you want to bundle up and have your boo.
Hmm. It's totally true. The bonding is this whole quarter, and although we have chosen that we bond and the fires have burned for the bonding, and the confusion and the realizations needed have been assuaged, we get all of that. And there's intelligence moving in here because gate four started this off along with gate seven. It's still the bonding is taking place. It's finessing, it's sophisticating itself, it's ensuring the safety, it's ensuring the health of humanity. There's only one center where all the gates line up, all of them, and that's the spleen. Everyone else has a little break here or something in between, which is fine. But this is clearly the spot that the wheel and the forces have decided we're not making any separation here. We don't need any mind. We don't need any bookends in that way. The only bookends we need are our love and our direction. And we've got them. And the duality will be a creative endeavor. That is what gate one, the pure yang creative. Duality will be from the body, and not just from the sexual body, from the love of the body, which isn't even the sexual body. It is straight, pure, innocent love of body, being in an experience, which, by the way, was given its sacral juice just a little bit earlier in gate 29. Talk about continuing making definitions here. I wonder what other definitions get made through here, but probably others. But um, all of that oomph is sophisticated through the intelligence of the spleen, the whole awareness, our oldest awareness, our awareness that keeps us the safest. This awareness keeps us safe. All the other awarenesses put us in danger. If you if you think about it, mind danger all over the place. You got a bright idea, don't walk down there, dude. You're getting mugged. You know, not such a bright idea now. I know you wanted a burrito, but your mind thought it was cool. Yeah, no, spleen would have told you. Uh-uh. Right? It's all put together here. And to get an intelligence of bonding and a coming to meet and a finding the purpose in the bonding and the giant set of morals and the values that will come in because of the bonding. I'm reading through the gates and the intelligence we have to get conservative to preserve the bonding. And preservation is 32 and 50, and they're right next to each other because you got to have the preservation of the intelligence that says don't let it fail, the preservation of continuity along with the preservation of the actual bond itself. 57, the penetrating awareness to become aware of what to preserve. 48, the depth and the well and the intelligence, even though it's on the logical collective side, having nothing to do with emotions. You can, as far away from the emotional processes you want to get here, it's still entirely connected because it's right here. 48, the well of solutions, we need it. And 18, a programming partner to 48, if you want to think about it, because it's the next gate on the
Mm.
stream. And 18 absolutely drips its awareness into 48 to create the well and the depth and the talent and the identifying process that gets enthusiastic and bursts into the world through the act of enthusiasm ultimately. A design to burst into the world with the enthusiasm of the depth that is so aware of what we need. We need on 32 and 50 to give us a purpose to finally all come to meet. We all came to meet and we met on the eve of the creative. So the body meets on the eve of the creative, and in the center is sandwiched the intelligence of why we bonded in the first place. There's not a lot of intelligence in the first part of this quarter, a little bit. There's 47 and 4. Cool. There's loads of intelligence here. It's like we are getting this business right. This quarter is like really a symphony. It's really symphonically put together to make sure the whole quarter can sing and the bond can get made and the music gets heard through a beginning, a middle, and an end, which happened in initiation in the first place. Yeah. So I'm very animated about this quarter. The more I look at it, this quarter to me has the most flavor. It has the most extra stuff, even though the emotions give us a lot of flavor in initiation. You know what? These two quarters to me are programming partners because they're right across the wheel from each other. Each one is the opposition. So the opposition of initiation is duality and bonding. And those
Yeah,
two
it's like a
words make a
mirror.
total mirror. Well, they're also the oppositions directly, just
Yeah, I just
right.
meant like the solar plexus and the spleen kind of they mirror at the top
Yeah,
here.
yeah, yep, they sure do.
Yeah.
Um, and but again, the whole emotional process when we were looking at that, 49 is an emotional gate, it's mirrors gate 4, an intellectual process. 63, as you noticed before, it's mirrors 64. These mirrors make such sense and they get brought into duality because initiation was first. By the time we get to duality, we're making all of these oppositions and we're making channels. We're making channels, we're making oppositions, we're having our programming partners, we're moving into the deepest intelligence we have that speaks the fastest and knows the clearest. The spleen knows the clearest. It's the clearest one when you're tapped in and you can see it. All of which to make the bond right. Humans are supposed to get together. We are supposed to bond, be it in community or tightly and intimately with another, or a little more loosely with the friends and brothers and sisters. We are to bond, 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 bond. The more we bond, the deeper go our capacities to survive the millennia as a species, because there's no guarantee. By the way, Gate 44 tells us that and brings us the wisdom. There's no guarantee your puny little humanity on this tiny little rock floating around one of the smaller stars in the cosmos is going to mean anything at any time in the future. You can't guarantee yourself that. You can get intelligence and have the potential to guarantee yourself that over time if we look back and keep the wisdom of 32 and 44, which are here, in play. 32 says I'm conservative, and 44 says thank God you're conservative because we can all go extinct. That's what it says. I mean, that's what its
Yep.
awareness is.
Yep.
So
There's a time to work with what has worked in the past, and there's time for
right,
new things, and that's another time, but there's times to just work with what we know has worked, what we've already experimented and tested that works.
32, if it ain't broke, don't necessarily fix it.
Hmm.
Let's get together and talk about that. And come to meet in Gate 44. Coming to meet is about smaller sections of peeps coming together, the peeps that matter for whatever you're coming together for. The whole village doesn't need to come together because, 4 or 5 guys got together and said, hey, we're going hunting today. We're going to come back with some big bucks for the village. We're going to have fun. We're going to do it. We're going to be careful. Splenic business, hierarchical, but they came to meet. You don't need everyone. 44 is coming to meet the right people. The king and the queen, and when we get to Gate 45 and a throat gate, that's bringing gathering together of all the people. Coming to meet is far more finessed into the right people.
Hmm.
So yeah, so the way of this quarter ends up being coming to meet with the right people, and you couldn't get more elegant of a way for a quarter. I mean, 24 for the way of the quarter of initiation, you sort of have to make it fit. Returning, I guess so. Yeah, let's return to this. Let's return to this emotional business once. First of all, 19, it makes sense. I have to approach with the resources, but it's a mystical story. There's aspects that we always will keep coming to sort of know. This one is nuts and bolts. The right people need to come to meet. And the way of this quarter is making sure that happens so the bonding can take place. We just have to listen to the wheel and bond. Stop some of the crazy we see on planet Earth. This is where it happens. I like the cross you have. That's the mighty arms. The mighty arms. The strength of all of this quarter. The power of it. I know it doesn't carry the most sacral gates. Doesn't matter. One sacral gate's enough to empower everything you need.
It's got two of
And
them.
it's got two of them, and gate 59 empowers the source wave of our emotional awareness. It lights it up. No sacral, no emotions. I mean, think about that. The sacral is dead as a. Oh, I better watch out. Someone might have a comment. Yeah, that's funny. I mean, the sacral has its feature of being, it's not aware. It's a responder. I'm a sacral being. I affectionately call it sometimes it's dumb as rocks. It doesn't know until it's in response. I don't know. I don't know. Oh, now I know. But the spleen is finessed. It knows. Lots of know go on in there, meaning understanding, knowing, seeing, sensing, intuiting. Their awareness here is sharp. And when we hear it, it's wicked sharp, couched by the creative and the vessel, empowered by what goes on in 29, the commitment, the deep. What is it? It's perseverance, the gate of the the depth of what the heck is it? I can't
I'm
remember.
on it. I'm on it.
The
The
deep within
abysmal.
the deep somehow that just goes down. The abysmal is the
The
word I was looking
abysmal.
for. Yes.
Perseverance. The deep within the deep. Persistence despite difficulties has its inevitable rewards.
Well, let's say that persistence is a march for the next 240 miles through the heat and everything, and the perseverance to do that gets you to the other side. It's not easy. This is the perseverance to do the impossible through the vessel and being in the experience. And 59 has nothing to do with perseverance. It has to do everything to do with the capacity. Dude, 59 is the capacity to break down barriers to bonding, break down the barriers to union. So you can't turn that off. It's one of our roll gates, and it empowers the entire emotional process. Everything here is designed to be finessed. This is the quarter of the projector. Everything here is finessed. The brute force is in the right place. Everything is like in the right place here. I mean, if I get over to the emotional side, maybe I could juggle up, put a little 30 where the 55 is. I don't know that we'd know the difference. What I mean? It could maybe mix things up a little bit here, but I wouldn't mix anything up, obviously. But over here, no, you'll know the difference. It goes in one way. So I'm done with this side. I can only just keep going on with my fascination of the majesty of this quarter. And I love the big fat arms. It's the muscle of this quarter.
I'm glad you like it.
Mhm.
Mosey?
Mosey.
So now we're going to look at the solar plexus, the spleen, and the root and the way they're kind of clustered around. And so the root slingshots us into the solar plexus. And then midway through the quarter of civilization, we get this little root boost to get us around the other end. It's like we go all the way to the bottom and then shoot back around. And then we hit that little bit of six, that extra emotionality before the spleen is making sure we're healthy after bonding, before we're going back into the root to slingshot us back in and around.
First of all, it's as if this spleen process is kept pristine and away from the pressure and the busyness of the other motors that would just overwhelm it. There's only one motor needed here, and even that is kept apart from the spleen by a vessel gate. That, by the way, when that vessel gate shows up, it creates a definition. So it's a very powerful place. It doesn't stand alone. And so it makes sense, these things. And look at the pressures and the motors of awareness need each other. Just like if you look right at it, the gate right before the quarter of initiation, while you're still in the fourth quarter, is 19, and the gate right after the quarter of initiation starts is its programming polarity partner of gate 49, making a life force. The whole starting of initiation is surrounded and flanked by a life force. The life
The
force
two of
is
them.
synthesis. Oh yeah, 41 and 30. Is there another one?
Yeah,
60
what's 19 and 49 and then the 41 and 30.
and
It's like
30.
they're
Yeah.
they're like a little 13 hamburger.
I'm just seeing totally. It's a little 13 total double decker. 38, 38 and 55. There's one. Oh no, 38,
That would
39
be the
or
channel
55. My
buddy.
bad.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm trying to stretch it in. But anyways, you got enough. You got light forces all around this, trying to make something happen. These things go together. The stress and the pressure to get it all right so that the landing of the emotional solar plex process can have its meaning. And it's couched with that logic gate to pressure understanding right in the middle of it. Let's understand it. None of that, none of that is interrupting the spleen. The spleen stands supreme and it's set off to the side. And the only gate that's there is the gate that's most needed, the openness to intimacy. That
Or
doesn't
not,
mean, or not,
because that's also protection.
right? The openness to intimacy or not. Anyway,
The spleen
so
stands alone.
spleen stands alone once again. Ra always gave the spleen the most intelligent part. It keeps us safe. It's our oldest awareness. It just speaks softly and you miss it a lot.
Hmm.
Yep. And you can't really interact with it like you can the other ones. I can tell when there's too much pressure. I can certainly see a wave, but the spleen just bloop, there's your info. Take it or leave
Hmm.
it in the now. Total spontaneous, total existential.
Super cool. Mosey.
Mosey.
So now we got the whole shebang. So this is a super busy, messy chart, but I figured let's just throw them all on in case you want to do like a screen grab or something.
Definitely
But
take a screenshot. Yeah.
yeah, this is a whole lot going on, but this is all the centers divvied out.
I don't even know what to say now because it gets too busy for
It's
me.
too busy. It was more for the novelty of like, I don't know, I just have to do this to see for myself and in case anyone else would be curious about it, but I didn't think we'd be spending a lot of time on this slide.
Well, still, the thing that stands out as the most congruent is the area where the spleen is. One, two, three, four, five, six, seven. You know, it's one shy of an eight codon matrix that creates a gene. It's just so it looks genetic,
Yeah.
uninterrupted.
Yeah, the only other spot that we have 7 in a row is here with the throat
So,
center, but then it's separated from its other little chunk. But yeah, that's exactly 7 and then another 4 on this side.
yeah, and that doesn't have the same look to me
No, no,
somehow.
the spleen stands alone. It does its own thing. It's got its all thing together, and even like the idea of it's right before like winter is gonna hit and fall is hitting, and it's like cool, get your immunity boost going so you could, make it through cocoon transformation season of the winter.
Exactly. And you know what? That's a wicked good point. And if you give it to the gate one, the creative, well, what does bonding do when it creates? The bonding that creates the baby, I mean, the creative is the definition of that in a way. So you can keep staring at this wheel and get so many little things out of it, you know. I could ponder gate 11 alone for quite a while just to see what is the meaning of this Eden movement and the teacher we're given when we finally get here. You know, I could ponder almost any 15. She stands alone. Why? Get some more on that. So I encourage everyone watching this to do the same thing. Not because you're going to get answers. Don't forget, gate 11 and 56 business, we're seekers, not necessarily the finders. Get used to that. Mutate. The quarter of mutation teaches us that. That's where the understanding of that is. It's in gate 11. 56 just is an awareness. It isn't the awareness of it all. Stare at this and make draw some of your own correlations. Get a little lost in it. Because when you get back to reading gates and stuff, you'll suddenly have a slightly different flavor for how you understand gates and synthesize the life forces in the chart and the type and everything else in the first place. This will add an element of distinctiveness to your awareness of what goes on in the human design system. And I wish I could give that a mathematical reason why that works, but it's not. It's experiential, abstract reason why that works. You just allowing. So come to some of your own conclusions and type up some stuff you see that we don't see.
Yeah, and let us know.
Yeah, so far Moni and I have seen different stuff each time we've done this. This is the third time technically. The first time where it was like, what a cool idea, and we started looking at it. The second time when you came up with the wheel and some bunch of the stuff, you're like, oh my God, Moni, look at those things they chunked together, and then we had it again. and then little aspects of it along the way. And now we're having for technically the third full time. And
Endlessly
we,
fascinating.
yeah, and we still said new stuff.
Yeah, every time you'll notice new things because it's just different patterns and different connections. Like, and I mean, I've been looking at this a bunch as I've been creating this presentation and moving stuff and making it all pretty. And every time noticing something new and noticing something new and then just texting you.
Yeah, right. So I feel pretty good about all of this.
Yeah. So I have one final conclusion page. So the wheel's hidden rhythms. Gates aren't scattered randomly, they're arranged in deliberate patterns around the wheel. Numbers jump in ways that feel almost arbitrary at first, but once you group them together by center, the mandala lights up with striking symmetries, perfect oppositions, elegant clusters, and compositions. This isn't by accident. It reflects how the cosmic imprinting flows, how pressure builds or awareness expands in fixed relationship around the 360 degrees, as though the mandala is a living clock, showing both
Mm.
the big evolutionary program and our personal place within it, all encoded in these numerical arrangements. There's no need for deep mysticism, just observe the patterns on the wheel. See how they connect to the body graph. Experiment with what shows up in your own life and during transits.
And don't at all be surprised when you're there long enough that you experience deep mysticism. That's what I love about the process. You don't need it to understand it. And then when you understand it, you get to have it. It seems to be the way the cause and effect of the value of staring at this wheel and understanding the system in the first place. These hidden rhythms are profound.
Absolutely. So, that was our exploration of patterns around the wheel, looking at centers. Like I said, I want to do a couple more of these where we'll maybe look at how the gates go around or how the channels when they connect. So this is going to be some ongoing fun, but I thought this was super great. I've been so excited about this for quite a while.
I'm excited that it is so rich and filled with stuff that at the end it doesn't make sense to say anything like, "So, what should we expect for the week?" or "What should we expect for the year?" Type of thing. What could be, the only thing we can expect is to enjoy looking at this wheel. Moni did a lot of work to actually make it come to life. And the truth of the matter is, it shows you such an amazing set of things to look at. That's because a projector with an ego did that, out of the blue, might we add. Why did it start, Moni? I pestered you to look at the wheel over and over. I'm like, Moni, stare
I
at the
mean,
wheel.
you'd always say stare at the wheel, and I'm like, I that
Wasn't
doesn't
enough.
quite do, well, it doesn't do it for me because I start to notice something, but then I don't have anything to set in the last thing that I noticed. And I was like, well, I'll just start making my presentation slides. So I just started setting that up because then if I make my presentation slides, then I can have the first thing I noticed and notice the next thing,
But
and then I can strategically pull it apart.
we had this really cool just brainstorm that had taken place. I remember where we pulled up the wheel and we started noticing certain things, and then suddenly the
Yeah.
juices really started flowing for both of us because even I started on the wheel, but I didn't always clump things together
Well, it's
per
like I
se.
don't think that the mind, I mean, maybe if you're a genius, you could just hold it together without having a solid image. But yeah, for me, it was just like, oh, wow, isn't it interesting that all the throat center gates are in the quarter of civilization? I think that's like the first thing that was like, oh, wow, that's 11 gates? 11 gates out of 64, and they're all in the one quarter of civilization at the bottom. I was like, that's interesting. And then it was with the spleen. I'm like, wow, that's really crazy that we hit all the spleen gates, boom, 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 one right after another. And then I was like, oh, and it's October and it's spooky season and they're fear gates and safety and stuff. And like I was like, that's really weird. So I started then wondering, I was like, well, how are the rest arranged? And I tried before drawing on it and doing stuff, but it would get too muddled on one page. So by doing it on Canva, I could copy and paste the page, duplicate, move it around, circle stuff, point at it. My strategic brain needs to pull it apart or it's I don't understand it. Everything kind of seems too much at first, then I need to take it all apart into separate pieces and then put it back together. But in that process, I started noticing these patterns and showing you, and then I was like, this has to be an episode.
It made a good long one. According to
Yeah.
the counter, 2 hours,
Yeah, I didn't
basically.
think it was going to be that long.
If we stopped right now, it'd be really cool. It'd be number
One,
55 and 37.
those are some good numbers.
Yeah, I'm 41. I mean 42.
Okay, well, don't get
I'm
too
having fun. Yeah, I better
I
stop
know.
now.
I was like, don't go to OCD on me. But yeah, it's super fun and super beautiful. And again, it's like it really brings me closer to some kind of divine aspect, like whatever you want to call that, universe, God, creator, the laws of nature that are bigger than you. It's like there's obviously something that programmed us. If there's a program, there's a programmer, and it's not random. We're not just floating about in the nothingness, bumping into each other. Like
There's
it's
purpose.
there's so much purpose and specificity. Like you can't tell me that it just happens that all the spleen gates hit one right after another. Like there's just no way. Like there's nothing is a coincidence, especially something that's like that specific. All 11 gates of the throat center are in the same quarter. The way the root center starts off at the end of quarter four and it slingshots us in, and almost like imagine like a vertical roulette table where it's like broop, and then it needs
Yep.
the second boost of the root to get around the other end of the circle. Like it's just too interesting.
So much there, Moni. It's
Hmm.
got me staring away from the screen. I'm grayscaling as we speak.
We're losing you.
Yeah, well, not lose. No, I'm right back. I'm good.
Oh, thank
I
goodness.
I went away with the subject matter that was here. So
Yeah.
anyway, it's
uh,
just
di-
I'm gonna stop now because it's so good because I can
yeah,
go
we're just
back
gonna
there.
keep just
Yeah,
fangirling on the mandala wheel.
yeah, something like that. I don't know what fangirling is. I don't think I want any part of that as a dude, but yeah, something.
Fair. Super, super fair. But yeah, so any final thoughts on these centers on the wheel? I think you've shared so many beautiful things.
Yeah, no, nothing to add that I feel like
Yeah,
adding right now.
yeah, super cool. So next week we will be diving back into our Godhead series. We only have two more of them, so that's really exciting. So next week we have the Godheads of Kali and Mitra, and they externalize and represent the fire trigram. So we'll also be going through the 8 fire trigrams. So that'll be super, super fun. I'm really excited about that. And if you'd like to book a reading with either Danny or myself, check out the QR code, or the link is down in the description box below. You can use code AWAKEN to save 10% on your reading. We can talk about your chart. We can talk about your friends and family, help you understand yourself and others better, and have a whole lot of fun. If you've been getting a lot out of our channel and you'd like to help encourage us and support us, we have a donation link up here. I also have it down in the description box below. And as always, thank you, Danny. Thank you to everyone who's liking and subscribing. That really, really helps us out. We very much appreciate it. Thank you for commenting and asking questions. We read all of them, and I really try to respond to all of them. And thanks for hanging out and exploring this with us, because we love doing it and we love sharing it with you. And we will catch you next week for another show.
Catch you on the flip side, everyone. Thanks so much for being here. Much love.